Perhaps the most interesting thing about Pga European Tour is the studio's decision to make the intro sequence an almost movie-like flyover, with the staff members' names splashing across the screen. It gives the game an initially impressive welcome, and when combined with what is honestly a really nice piece of music, I was lured into a false sense of security. Because after this sequence had finished, what I began to play next was not a mess of a game, and one which even golf game fans should stay clear of. Landing on store shelves in the mid-year 2000 from Infogram's Sheffield House studio came Pga European Tour, a simulation golf experience for Nintendo 64 that nobody wanted, nobody was asking for, and ultimately nobody bought. Despite having the full PGA license, 4 real courses from across Europe, and a whole range of game modes, nothing can overcome the fact that the rest of the package is well below par. Or should that actually be over par? Well anyway, the visuals for a year 2000 release are not great, in fact they're quite bad. When you consider they only marginally look better than Whaley Country Golf Club which came out before this, then you start wondering how the studio did so little to make this game impressive to look at. Now sure, you could say there's not really much for them to do, because all they need is some grass textures, some clear blue skies, and some half decently animated golfers. And it makes it harder to actually think about why they weren't able to get the visuals looking better in the game. Surely throwing in the expansion pack support and bumping in some higher resolution textures would have made this look instantly better. The overall presentation when playing isn't that great either. Many times you'll make your shot, and instead of the golfer actually doing what you've instructed them to do, they'll spend a short amount of time taking practice swings before eventually making the hit that you've selected. It grinds the game down to a halt, and when simulation golf games aren't exactly known for their speed, then it makes this an absolute snooze fest to play. Further adding to the old people's home feel is the game's commentary. The commentary is actually really well recorded. The problem though is that they chose Peter Alliss, who is the TV golf commentator for the BBC. Now I doubt that you'll have heard of him if you're outside of the UK, but he is the dullest broadcaster I think I've ever heard, and every single line he delivers further makes me want to get a warm cosy blanket and take a Sunday afternoon nap. Yes, it's professional, yes it's good quality audio, but he sounds like an old man in a pub having a whinge, and even if you hit hole in one he greets it with the stiff British upper lip. The game's sound effects are great. Well, there's no real music when you're playing, so that you are just left to listen to the sound of the open range, and it is surprisingly relaxing. There's not many effects here, but it doesn't really need them in my opinion. The biggest problem in the game though are the controls. You have your standard golf mechanic of having button presses during a swing meter, and in this case they are really unresponsive. Or you've got the other choice of using the analog stick for swing timings, which again is just as useless. The timings that you make seem to have little impact on the shot that eventually gets pulled off. And even when I've hit it exactly at the right places on the marker swings, each time it seems to give me a completely different outcome, and it's really hard to predict what it's actually going to do. You'll quickly just turn the entire game into a hit and hope affair that is until you hit the green, because when you're on the green you'll get a really fairly good putting mechanic. It seems to work perfectly once you're on the green. In a way, if this was a mini golf game, then it would have been brilliant, but all of your approach play before that is going to be all over the place. Now sure, there is a driving range to help you get up to speed, but really, why would you waste your time doing that? For anyone mad enough to try and get into the game, you will find that there is actually a lot of depth in the career mode. You start off by creating your old golfer as an amateur player, and you can't join any of the professional tournaments until you get your handicap to 0. Then you can start playing against all of the professionals, which the back of the box tells me are actually real professionals. Not that I'd have any clue otherwise. If you want an enjoyable golf game, just go play Mario Golf, or even at a push give Cyber Tiger a try. Pga European Tour is a poor simulation experience, and it rightfully flopped big time on its release. And so for today's topic of conversation, I'd love to know how I can make it up to you for having wasted your time watching a video about a terrible golf game. Tell me in the comments down below, and until next time.